Welcome, friends, to today's throat chakra practice. Have you ever put your foot in your mouth, like said something you regretted? Don't worry, today's practice won't be putting our foot in our mouth, but it will put us through a throat chakra balancing asanas. And so the throat chakra, it is within our throat area, and it's our center of communication, our self-expression, and our ability to speak our truth. And our voice, our ability to express our truth, is one of the most powerful tools that we have. And I'm reminded of a quote by Frankl Victor that says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." So we're constantly bombarded by stimuli throughout our day, and more often than not, our response to those stimuli are through the words that we vocalize. And our throat chakra is responsible for those vocal responses, and ideally we want them to align with our deepest truth. So by balancing the throat chakra, today's practice will be have a focus on that space between stimulus and response, where we have the power to choose an intentional response and thus cultivate freedom and growth. So I'm really excited for today's practice. You'll just need a mat and maybe 2 blocks. Also, disclaimer, where I'm at, it's been a really wet winter spring, so there were tons of bugs. I'm all slapping some bugs everywhere, so I apologize, but nonetheless, get your mat. I'm excited to practice with you. Come to a seated position on your mat and sit up tall like you're pulling a zipper up from your hips to the top of your head and beyond. Focus your attention on that space that lies between your body and the mat. Feel all parts of your body that touch the ground. And settle in here and allow your natural breath to flow through you. As you focus on your breath, find that space between exhale and inhale. Zoom your focus on that space, the pause between stimulus and response. How does your inhale respond to that gap? How does your exhale respond to that gap? And use your breath to teach you about that pause between stimulus and response. We encounter countless stimuli throughout our day, and the great news is we have this built-in pause button, the space between inhale and exhale, to remind us that we have the capacity and space within us to intentionally respond to whatever comes our way. The possibilities are limitless within that pause. It's always with us, always present. We just have to be reminded and remember it's there. And for the next few breaths, allow yourself to be breathed in from the inside out. On your next inhale, gently open your eyes. Zip back up again and sit up tall. We will start to awaken our throat chakra, our center of communication, with some neck rolls. So contract your shoulder blades towards each other while slightly holding your elbows away from your body, and take your chin towards your left shoulder. Inhale. Exhale, drop the chin down and towards your right shoulder. Inhale, roll it down and towards the left shoulder. With your breath, move side to side. And the next time that your chin is to your left shoulder, make a complete circle all the way to the back, to ending on the left shoulder, and then make another circle in the opposite direction. Roll it all the way back. Good. Now bring your chin parallel to the floor. Roll your shoulders back a few times. And then roll them forward. And now intentionally transition to a tabletop position. Stack shoulders over wrists and knees slightly behind your hips. Inhale to cow. Exhale, push into cat. Inhale and exhale. Move back and forth here with your breath. One movement, one breath. And notice the gap between cat and cow, that space right before your cat turns into cow. And the space right before your cow turns into a cat. As you roll back and forth through cat and cow, we will begin to awaken the throat chakra by activating our voice box. And to do this, we will use the 5th chakra bija mantra. So every chakra has an associated sound called a bija mantra, and the sound associated with the throat is hum, spelled H-A-M. So come to a tabletop position and align your throat with the rest of your spine. We will take 3 hums together, pronounced kind of like an om, but with an H. All right, so deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, focus your attention on the center of your throat. Inhale to hum. 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 And watch the sound dissipate into the air. Push back into a downward facing dog. Notice the energy of what it feels like when you're able to express yourself in a clean way. Inhale to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale up to cobra. Exhale, push back into a child's pose with the hands reached out towards the top of the mat. Grip your fingers into the mat and float your armpits away from the floor. From child's pose, we will take a puppy pose. So walk your hands forward, lift your butt from your heels, and walk your knees back so that your hips are directly above your knees. Exhale, touch the mat with your forehead. Puppy pose. Inhale, lift your gaze between your hands, and if this is too much strain, just take your forehead back to the mat. Inhale and exhale. From the wisdom that resides within you, transition into a downward facing dog. Inhale to plank, exhale chaturanga, inhale up to cobra, exhale and create your downward facing dog. On your next inhale, bring the right foot forward into a high lunge. Find your feet and equally weigh them as you transition into a warrior 2. In your warrior 2, think of this pose as an outward expression of your self-expression, powerful and energetic. Breathe with the pose here. Next inhale, pivot the front toes towards the long edge of the sticky mat and come into a wide-legged position with all 10 toes pointing in the same direction. Take your hands into your back pockets, set your hips back and wide. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, bow humbly to your truest self-expression, wide-legged forward fold. Bring your hands to blocks or to the floor beneath your shoulders. Breathe. Press deep into the balls of the feet as you inhale, lift your chest, and take warrior 2 on the other side. Left toes point to the back short edge of your mat, knees stacked over ankle. Right heel is grounded and toes pointing to the long edge of the mat. Push into the feet and inhale, grow your spine out of your hips. Notice the energy of what it feels like to be strong and express your deepest truth in a healthy way. Next inhale, pivot those left toes and come into a wide-legged position. Inhale, lift the crown of the head towards the sky. Exhale, bow down once more to your deepest truth, your self-expression. Inhale, lift up and walk to the top of your mat. At the top of your mat, inhale, reach the arms to the sky, and exhale, sit back into a chair pose. Keep the spine long and lifted, while at the same time the chest wide and lifted. And slightly draw the sides of your throat back and lengthen your skull from the base upward. Exhale, forward fold, touch the ground. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, step the left foot back. High lunge. Release the back knee to the mat and bring both hands up to the front knee, Anjaneyasana. And use your internal pause button and pause here with your breath. Set your hips back in space and slowly, with intention, bend that back knee on track. Now, if we approach it too fast or aggressively, we might get a muscle cramp. Just like how if we don't take that time between stimulus and response, we might say something out of line to our deepest truth. So take your left hand back behind you, and maybe it touches the foot or maybe it doesn't. Listen to your body. And if your body says yes, grab a hold of that foot and come into a quad stretch here. Slowly begin to square your hips towards the front of the mat. Inhale, release the foot and frame the front foot with your hands. Lift that back knee and step the back foot towards the middle of the mat. Back toes are pointing towards the left wrist and both legs are straight, pyramid pose. Bring hands to hips and inhale, lift the chest. Take your gaze past your mat on an unmoving object and plug into your focus. Create growth and freedom as you inhale. Put your weight into that front foot to free the back foot and swing your back knee forward and level with your belly button. Take the left hand to the lifted knee, hand to ankle. Now bring the heel to the glute. Rest right hand on your heart. Stay here or hinge from the hips to bring your torso forward, while at the same time kick your left leg away back from the body. Focus the hips and the pelvis so they stay square towards the front of the mat. Come back to a standing position and release the foot and bring it above your right knee. Now take your left ankle right above your right knee and really keep that foot flexed like it's in a ski boot. This will help protect your knee. And just as you did before, sink back into a chair pose and bring your hands to heart center. Use your breath and pause. And it's in these moments that when we learn to manage our response to what we think and what we do, we can be or do anything. Inhale, free the left ankle and push it out back behind you and fly into a warrior 3. Imagine yourself gracefully landing into a lunge pose. Now, release that back foot to the mat and celebrate it. Raise the arms to the sky. Step back into a downward facing dog. Inhale, step the left foot forward and come into your Anjaneyasana with both hands stacked on the front bent knee. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, slowly bend that back knee on track. Reach your right hand out behind you. Bring your hips towards your foot to help your hand touch the foot. If it doesn't, that's okay. And come into a quad stretch here. With your breath, square the hips to the front of the mat. With your breath, release the foot and move into a pyramid pose with left foot forward, right foot back, and back toes pointing to the right wrists. Press deep into the balls of your feet as you inhale, lift the chest up. Weight that front foot and swing the back knee forward and level with your belly button. Right hand to right knee, hand to ankle, and now bring your heel towards your glute. Left hand to heart, dancer's pose. Inhale, exhale. It's within this gap between stimulus and response when there are moments of hesitation or moments of opportunity. You can either step in or lean forward. As you lean forward, kick your back foot into your hand away from your body. Inhale, release the pose and bring that right ankle to left knee. As you bring your right ankle to left knee, just above the knee, keep your right foot flexed. Set the hips back down and come into a chair pose, hands to heart center. Keep those right toes pointing down towards the mat. Now draw the sides of the throat back and lengthen the crown of your head from the base of your skull. And even though this might not feel like a pose where one can pause and be comfortable, use this time to plan your response for the next move. We know where we're going. With your breath, release the leg and inhale, fly into your warrior three. Inhale, exhale. And inhale, lightly land the back foot and come into a lunge, touch down. Raise the hands to the sky and cartwheel your hands down and come into a downward facing dog. Inhale to plank, exhale chaturanga. Inhale up to cobra, and exhale come into a child's pose. Rest your forehead here on the mat. And in your own time and in your own way, find your way onto your back. And when you get on your back, set yourself up for bridge pose. So bend your knees, feel the soles of your feet touch the mat. Take your feet about hip width apart. And now, find that space behind your nose and press it into the mat. From your upper palate, the roof of your mouth, lengthen the neck and expand from the crown of the head. Lift the hips up towards the sky, bridge pose. Now, bridge pose helps stretch the spine, the chest, and neck, while it stimulates the thyroid and lungs. So this is a great pose to open and activate our throat chakra. Inhale, release one vertebrae at a time. Set your feet as wide as the sticky mat, and with the navel to belly button, allow both knees to fall to the left. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, both knees fall to the right. Inhale, lift up. Fall to the left. And move back and forth here at whatever pace feels good in your body. Come to a lying position on your back. Bring your arms by your side, backs of the hands touching the floor with the wrists just wider than the shoulders. Let your feet fall open to the sides, ankles just wider than the shoulders. And tuck your shoulder blades underneath your heart space. Allow your shoulders and head to sink down in the mat. Relax the muscles of the face and transition into a neutral and soft breath. Release tension and surrender with the exhale. It's natural for thoughts to fill the mind here. Accept them and just let them float away, like clouds in a sky. Be present here, right now, right here. And in your own time, roll to one side and come into a fetal position. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. This fetal position can be used as a symbol of that space between stimulus and response. It's the space between your asana practice and life off the mat. How will you respond? Gently, with the eyes closed, push your way back to a seated position at the top of your mat. Bring your hands to heart center. Inhale. Exhale. The light within me salutes the light within you. Namaste.